Still trying to get
So
my
you should
camera
get,
to be what I
you should
want.
have you'll get a warning.
Yep. Got it.
And just let me post it out on the face of books.
Must be higher. That's not too bad.
It's really weird. I'm plugged in wired for my laptop, and then I also have the wireless on. And it hadn't been a problem before, but I think that's what caused my outage last week was because I had wireless and wired on. So of course you're getting two different IP addresses.
Good to do it.
Very weird. There was a problem before. And now it's off.
What outage did you have?
Last week I got bumped out of while we were recording. We had to start over.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Chuck and I had to make small talk. It was terrible.
Well, then you invited Guy.
I did not invite him.
He asked you for the link. I saw that.
Absolutely. He messaged. He's like, "What's a link?" I'm like, "I don't know."
Oh, it worked. It actually turned out great. It was fun.
It was fine. It's good to be home doing the broadcast because it's a pain at the beach. It's setting everything up just as much nicer.
I bet.
I've been on such a tight deadline. I haven't heard anything. I'm behind on everything.
We were supposed to go to the beach tomorrow, but I went to a dentist for a toothache, and I'm going in tomorrow for emergency root canal. So that's why I'm home.
Fun.
Yeah, it's my first one. Congratulate me. I've never had anything like that yet. I've had cavities filled. So it should be fun.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little nervously excited for it, I guess, because never know what to expect.
I've never heard anyone say the words "I'm excited about a root canal," but go for it.
No. That's usually like the deadpan example of the joke. I'm like that. It's just root canal. So
okay. So what else I'm doing here? Oh, gonna do my other recording.
Close up the notes.
Where is that? Go to their computer. And okay, I'm going to record on Audio Hijack, and we're now doing that. And then we're ready. You guys ready?
Yep.
Okie dokie. Episode 160. Here we go. In 3, 2. Welcome to episode 160 of In Touch with iOS, a podcast that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and related technologies. I'm your host, Dave Ginsburg, and my co-host, Warren Sklar, is here. How you doing, Warren?
I am here. I'm back at the ranch. I was supposed to be at the beach, but didn't make it because of teeth issues, but I'm good to go. So good to be here.
Yeah, glad you're here. And I want to welcome back to the show. So always exciting to have her on. Ms. Brittany Smith. How you doing, Brittany?
I'm doing well.
So glad you're here. And we got lots to talk about this week. All kinds of fun, exciting things. Apple had announced their quarterly earnings. We won't go too deep into it, but we'll talk a little bit about that. And got some other good topics we can hit here, as well as some news. So let's just dive right in here and just talk about the earnings that happened this past week. Apple had a profit of 21.7 billion, 81.4 billion in revenue, and had lots of records. So they're showing some pretty amazing numbers here where things are going. Percent of iPhone is about almost 49%. So that's been about half their business. But interesting things to see that did increase were wearables and the iPad and services, as well as Mac. It was very interesting to see the services, especially. I think Apple was very happy with, and that was really what they were looking to do. The services actually reached 17.5 billion, so all-time record for that. And I think that they have something with these services. Brittany, what do you think? I think the services are probably some of the biggest things that Apple's been doing.
It has been a huge push. It's my least favorite thing, mostly
Yeah.
because it's a little silly, and I'm not that big on services. I don't watch a lot of TV, I'm kind of boring that way. But yeah, it's a thing they've been pushing for, and it sounds like they've been somewhat successful.
Yeah, very much so. And I guess you can combine this. The combined Mac and iPad sales will continue to surge as well. Mac brought in 9.1 billion and iPad brought in about 7.4 billion. And they're doing a comparison, I believe, saying that if you put the Mac and the iPad together, it could be its own company on the Fortune 500 or the Fortune 100, I think they said.
They said the same thing with the wearables. Right.
Yeah, the wearables too, which is another thing. What do you think, Warren, about the services and then the iPad and the Mac?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Brittany's services isn't as exciting as like a new Mac or an iPhone or something like that to us. It's kind of, I think when services first started, we were all kind of like, if you remember, we were all on Facebook kind of discussing whether they were going to really go into the services thing because,
right.
They had iTunes, and then when they moved to Apple Music, that was their only service except for iCloud. And we were debating whether it's a good thing or not because we thought maybe Apple, we call them services, but they're really subscriptions. And subscription is a bad word. Service is a nice word for it. So we didn't like that kind of model. But they're putting out fairly quality things, and it's companies like it obviously because it's recurring money. So that's why they're going to continue to purchase.
And there's that Google amount hidden in there too.
Yeah. All that money,
exactly.
all that money that Google pays them to be the search engine of choice.
Yeah. So exactly, and that's that's recurring money, and that's why they keep them. So any kind of subscription is basically good for a company. There was talk even a couple of months ago or almost last year where they were going to make the MacBook like a subscription service. You could like subscribe to the hardware, if you remember that. So that never really happened.
I remember that.
Yeah, you were going to be able to I'll go back to it, but it was almost like Apple program renting a MacBook, and you got a new one every year, almost like the iPhone program, but it was a monthly subscription to it. I'll find the article on that. But I heard good reviews about the earnings call. I didn't actually listen to it.
I found it interesting saying that they still expect surges in iPad and Mac when a lot of folks were feeling like they were doing partly so well because of the school from home and work from home stuff and going back to school. But, I'm planning to buy a big old fancy MacBook Pro as soon as they let me get a big fancy MacBook Pro. So I guess I'm one of the suckers. So
yeah. They
go ahead.
No, you go. It's all
good. No, it's definitely it's exciting times to be part of with Apple, and their products are very exciting. I mean, just a lot of fun to see this, see that things are just doing well. As you said, with the wearables, there was a 36% year-over-year change over last year. With the wearables was crazy. It was $8.8 billion was what they put in the wearables market. I believe they say they have about 75% of the wearables market, which is pretty awesome. I must say. It just, like I said, they continue to do things really well with everything that they're doing. Now, I think really what affected the stock, as you said, that the stock went down was the fact that they did make Tim Cook did make the comment that there's going to be some problems with supply constraints going into the September quarter, because as we all know, the chips are short and a lot of other components are short, and they got a lot of things sitting in the factories that they can't build yet because they're short these components. But he didn't want to predict it, but by saying that, you get stockholders that get a little worried about that. And if the restraints are going to affect, like I said, of course, the so-called iPhone 13 that will be out, they say will be out in September. But I think that's going to have a lot of effect on being able to get an iPhone, as well as you better go run out and get one, because it's going to be tough to get it. What do you think, Warren?
Yeah, I mean, Tim Cook's a good supply chain person. He's going to figure it out for the most part. Last year when there was the actual delay with the iPhone 12 for a month, we were all kind of shocked because we never really thought it was ever going to happen, because they've been so consistent throughout the history of getting things out on time. I think it would be great if they got them out on time, and I'm definitely in the market, just like you are, and I'm sure Brittany will be. You going for the 13?
Yeah, especially because it might be the last mini for a couple of years.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
So, and I'm not in the camp that thinks an SE is an acceptable alternative, or that a giant phone is. And for me, the medium one is giant.
See, I don't think the mini is acceptable. So, we all have our things.
Well, I mean, but I think it's important to have all of them, and it's. I sort of equate it to like the Mac Pro. Like, it's not a lot of people who need that form factor for that kind of power, but there are a few, and they're really diehard. And I'm a diehard on the mini because I need my latest stuff, and I need it in the size that fits in my hand.
I was a diehard on the 17-inch MacBook, but that no Apple, they're not bringing that one back.
Oh, I know. We got to 16 though. That's something.
Not the same.
Anyway, so yes, I will buy it. I will get up if I think that it's supply constrained, and I'll do that. But I totally get that it may not come out as often. Like, if that's the cycle is every other year, that's just the cycle upgrade on, and that's fine.
Wasn't the last year or two the East Coast didn't have to get up as early? If I remember, they changed the.
They didn't. No.
Times. Yeah, so maybe let's continue that on. So
I hope so. So that's the earnings. We're not financial analysts here, but I just wanted to really touch on it a little bit as far as the good news that happened this past week.
Apple's doomed.
And I said that too on Mac Voices Live too.
Yeah, Apple is doomed. Always doomed.
Just because Mark Fuccio, he is the financial analyst. He is. I said right away. I said Apple's doomed.
Yeah.
Our related article kind of is. This is Mac Rumors. Apple saw a double-digit growth in iPhone upgraders and switchers in the quarter 3 of 2021. Apple did experience strong double-digit growth in the number of iPhone users who were upgrading an older device or swapping to an iPhone from an Android device. This was CEO Tim Cook did say that during the earnings call. And Cook had said that it was the largest upgrade quarter of Q3 ever, and that the iPhone 12 upgrade cycle on the whole was very strong. Sales of the iPhone 12 Pro, and the 12 Pro Max were particularly strong. So, sorry, Brittany, that we're mentioning the Mini or the iPhone 12. So, but he said Cook did say that he feels really good about the future of the iPhone because of the 5G, because 5G penetration remains very low, and there's a lot of opportunity for sales growth in the 5G market. And I know they were rumoring about the fact that the iPhone, the next model of the SE is going to be a 5G phone. So you just mentioned you want to get a phone like the Mini that has 5G. And it depends on, of course, where you live, how good 5G is. But what do you think, Brittany? I think this is good news.
Hey, if people are starting to go places, that's great. You can actually use it. I've used it a few times, and it was kind of fun that nobody else in my group had good signal, and I did, and that was fun. We were at the zoo. I don't have it all the time, but when I do, I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yeah, here in the Chicago area, the 5G coverage is pretty awesome, and T-Mobile particularly has been, and people have been saying that their 5G coverage is pretty stellar, considering. But it's good to see that people are upgrading. I mean, I'm glad to see it. I mean, I think now it's going to start slowing down again. Now all these 12s are going to be out there. You know, the 13 will probably kind of level out, but you'll still get people like me who and Warren and probably you too, Brittany, that we're more yearly upgraders. So, but this is good news. So. All right, let's go on to the next story here. Found this interesting. Apple says, don't buy AirTag replacement batteries with a bitter coating. This is some Mac rumors. Since AirTags were just released earlier this year and expected to have a year-long battery life, and maybe sometime yet before AirTag users are going to need a replacement battery. But when the time comes for a refresh, Apple is warning customers do not buy batteries with a bitter coating. What is a bitter coating, you ask? It is a coating that particularly Duracell puts on these batteries because, unfortunately, there's a lot of children that get hold of these batteries and tend to swallow them, and it's pretty dangerous for that to happen. So, if it's got a bad taste, then the child will probably spit it out, and that's why they do it. So, but apparently, this is a problem with the AirTag and having this coating in there because it's not giving good connection with the AirTag. What do you think, Brittany?
I mean, I think to look good, they might want to do something about it, but I think they said could interfere with the connection to use that particular coating. It'd be nice if this was one of the times when they said more about something, like, safety of kids and whatever, instead of just like, let's not make our thing not work.
Yeah.
Because I know the sale of them was restricted in some countries because of the battery issue.
Australia, there's mentions that the Australia retailers were refusing to sell them because too easy of the access to the battery. I'm like, come on. I mean, my key fob for my car, I have to get a tool to pry it open to get the battery out, but it's still you're able to get to it. I mean, obviously, Charles not going to get to that thing, but this, I guess, is a little bit easier. So, any thoughts, Warren?
Just reminds me of the time I used bitter apple to keep my dog from eating the furniture.
Yeah.
I mean, didn't your dog eat an AirTag though? Like, actually?
Chew it.
Yeah. This is actually true. I should have put the. Does Duracell make a bitter battery that you put on the outside of the AirTag?
Yeah.
That would have done it.
Yes. His dog Lola did do some chewing of the AirTag.
You know what, Dave, I never got the credit. They never sent me my credit back for the return one. They didn't say they're not going to do it, so maybe I should call them. It's been
so you still not have gotten a credit back for?
No, not for the AirTag I sent back to them. So,
it's still sitting in limbo that it's being looked at.
I guess so.
It'll stay that way. Like I told you, I had the smart keyboard, or the magic keyboard for the smart keyboard for the iPad that had some stuff going on with it, and it stayed in that for like a year, and I stopped looking because they're not doing anything about it right now. So,
well, the magic keyboard is more expensive, right? That was decent money.
$300, right?
Yeah. All right.
I know. Anyways, a little different comparison here. So
I could swallow the AirTag cost.
Right.
But yeah, yours is a little more substantial.
Yeah, a little more substantial. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Next story. This is in Mac Rumors. GarageBand for iPhone and iPad gets an all new sound packs from top artists like Dua Lipa and Lady Gaga. Apple announced it today as we record this, actually, that the GarageBand app for iPhone and iPad has received all new sound packs for some of today's top artists, producers, including remix sessions from singers Dua Lipa and Lady Gaga. Music Creation app has also gained several new producer packs, beats, loops, and instruments created by top producers. I can go on and on of all of these, all the ones that are there, but this is good. I'm glad to see that Apple continues to keep GarageBand evolving. I'm kind of sad to say that I believe you could probably bring these over in the Mac version of GarageBand, which I used to edit this show. But it's good to see that Apple is continuing to evolve GarageBand. It's an app that's always fun to play with, and It's not for everybody. I know Brittany, I don't know if it's something you ever do with doing music or audio editing with GarageBand.
I'm so lousy at audio editing. It is not video, film. I can do those. Actually,
Sure.
I'm a very good editor, but audio, not so much. I try to get somebody else to do it if I can.
Well, it is a podcast. I have to kind of edit audio. So
Yeah,
I got it down to a science at this point, and I've been doing for a few episodes here. So, what do you think, Warren?
Not much. I heard of Lady Gaga. I never heard of the other guys, so it's all good.
Dua Lipa is a lady, and she's very popular right now.
Is she? All right. If you say
yes.
so. Yeah.
You can Google her. It'll come up a lot.
I'm curious of what these are, so I'll probably play with it. I have my keyboard hooked up, so maybe I'll hook it up to my iPad and see what they're talking about.
Yeah, check it out. Then last story of the news this week, eBay adds support for Apple Pay on its website. Well, about time. This is in the Mac This is the Mac Observer. Our friend Andrew Orr wrote this article. They added support for Apple Pay on their website recently. The previous payment option was only available in the apps, which is interesting. Well, I guess it isn't as interesting because eBay no longer owns PayPal. So PayPal is its own company now, and I should know because the stock has been pretty phenomenal for me. This move means now Apple Pay users can now receive 2% cash back when you use the Apple Card as your default payment when you're buying something on eBay. So it's good to see more and more companies are adopting Apple Pay, and I'm happy to take that 2%. What do you think, Brittany?
Yeah, I'm excited. Sometimes I load the eBay payment options and having to go through that. So if I can use Apple Pay, that will make my life a little bit easier.
Yeah, I think a lot more. Some people are just not big fans of PayPal anymore, but for some reason, PayPal continues to do very well because they're just really heavily into the market when it comes to payments. Any thoughts, Warren?
No, I avoid eBay like the plague, so it doesn't excite me at all.
Okay.
Sometimes it's your only option.
eBay is like
eBay to me is like
eBay to me is like the Facebook to everybody else. This is the biggest graveyard of scam, gross.
That is fair.
Fair assessment, I guess.
If you just found out about
anytime I try
to
sell, anytime I tried to sell something on eBay, which is like twice, it was the worst possible corporate experience I've ever had, where I think the first time was like somebody tried to scam me, and then for whatever reason I couldn't list another product for another 6 months because of that. And the other one was like just even worse. So yeah, it's I haven't even been on that page for years and years.
Selling does not appeal to me at all, but sometimes you just really urgently need to get that Star Wars book from the 70s that you just discovered existed, and I don't know where else you go. So
yeah, it's about the only marketplace I know of finding hard to find things. And I was a pretty heavy eBay seller back in the day. I haven't done it as much, and there's a few things I've been wanting to sell for a while now, and I've been just too lazy and want to do it. So
I have one of my really good friends does it constantly, and he offered to take some of my stuff and do it too. So I guess some people know how to do it. I don't.
Yeah,
I buy stuff on it.
Yeah, I think
I'm scared to do that
buy.
too. I'm scared to give them any business.
I've had a good experience. It hasn't been that bad. So, all right, that's news for this week. Let's move on. And all I could say this next topic is how important it is right now is you need to update all your iOS devices. Apple had 14.7 come out a week ago since we record this, and then 14.7.1 is now out. This fixes a fix with the Apple Watch unlock bug and more. Article we have here from 9to5 Mac is it was exactly 1 week after 14.7 was released. They found that their iPhone did not automatically unlock their Apple Watch after updating to 14.7 last week, which now fixes that. And it's also has some pretty serious security updates that you got to fix as well. And it also added 14.7 did add support to the MagSafe battery, which we talked about last week, and combining Apple Card accounts and all that stuff. But the most important thing is I think it's just 14.7.1 is important, and you really should consider updating it right away when it comes to that. Also, important to update is Watch OS. Actually, that just came out today as we record this.
Yeah.
That's 7.6.1. Make sure that you release, you get out there and update that. And tvOS and iPadOS all have the bug fixes as well with the security updates. I know Warren, both you guys, you're doing your daily drivers as in beta, which we'll get here in a second. But go ahead.
My family is all on normal releases, so I went around last week and put the update on all their devices, and of course they dropped this week. So I'm like, I'm not gonna bother them again for a little bit, maybe till the next one. But
just, unless you have it set to auto load.
Yeah.
But important to go out there. You guys, any other thoughts? I will move on to iOS 15 beta for this week.
Mhm.
Beta 4 for iOS 15 was released this week to developers, and then the public beta was released as they generally do every day or two after. So I think all of us who have a developer account, so we're all in the developer beta, so we get the latest and greatest here. I think the biggest thing that was kind of interesting is they released the MagSafe battery pack, and then it didn't. And then people were going to use it before Beta 4 came out. Beta 3, it didn't work. It showed up as a UPS device. When you look up the battery, it wouldn't even say it's a MagSafe. It wouldn't even say a MagSafe a battery, but now it does with the Beta 4. So strange.
I guess they do that now because we had so many spoilers from a beta software that got mined.
That's exactly what they do. When they release a beta before
that's
the
true
actual product, they admit that. So
that's true. Yep. So what are you, Brittany? What are you finding so far that you're liking with iOS 15?
I'm still playing with the changes to notifications and do not disturb, like the focus modes. And yeah, in fact, I was telling a client about it today who had missed an important calendar notification because she wanted her Slack notification off, and somebody had scheduled an event for her, and and so it's like, well, we should talk about this. At least we'll have a different solution but for now. So so those things are really cool. I'll say what's the buggiest for me is sadly shortcuts. It's mostly been very stable except for shortcuts, which is real buggy. Still on beta 4, unfortunately for me.
I think probably the most popular thing that they fixed, or I guess I should say refined the design is of Safari, because everybody was up in arms, even on Mac, where the floating bar was down at the bottom of the screen, and now they moved it back up in both iOS and iPadOS.
Have you figured out how to move it? It's still on the bottom. I can't figure out how to get it up on top.
Okay, I'm not trying.
Yeah.
I haven't tried either, but they keep saying you can do
on
it.
an iPad. My iPad that's running iOS 15.
It's my understanding that iPad changed more, but
yeah, I can't move it up.
Yeah, you guys can see that there's the iPad. It's up on the top now.
Yeah, but the iPhone definitely is it's on the bottom. It floats. I
never liked floating windows or toolbars or whatever, even on a Mac or a Windows machine. Like, not my favorite.
I got excited when it was the betas came out, because for about 5 minutes they said it had universal control enabled, and then they pulled it.
All right.
So I was like rushing to do that, and then by the time I finished with Mac OS doing its thing, it was pulled. So whatever. But I'm pretty happy right now. Everything, all my apps work at this point with the beta 4. Salesforce was a big one for me because I use that at work, and I don't know if it's because I'm on the Salesforce test flight. So I got when I had the problems, I tried to see if a beta version of Salesforce was going to do it, but now it's working either way. So Yeah, so I'm pretty much sailing right through. I think beta 4 is actually a little bit faster. It feels a little snappier than 3.
Hmm.
All right. And then a couple of things that they did add is the share button, the dedicate share button for sending an article to someone has been relocated to the tab bar in Safari.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And then the reload, there's a reload button
Yeah.
available next to the domain name for quick access to reloading a page. Apple had removed this in the prior beta, making it a long press gesture. I'm sure a lot of people were complaining about that. Showing bookmarks when you long press on the URL bar, there's an option to show bookmarks, which makes it much easier to get your bookmarks. What a concept for that. And then the reader mode is available on a website. There's now a little icon that can be tapped to enter into it. Reader mode is also accessible through the share interface through the share sheet. As I mentioned with IO, as I just showed on the stream here as well, when we did live, as well as I mentioned that iPad OS 15, they did an update design of Safari on the iPad. Actually, it's bringing it within line of the Mac OS of Matt Monterey as far as design goes. So it does have a separate tab bar option. So that made it a little easier as well. Again, MagSafe battery support is finally working. And there were some cosmetic changes. I know a lot of people get crazy with this, but the lock screen camera icon looks completely different now. If they slightly tweaked the design, I don't know how important that is, but it does look a little different now. If you look in the article, it'll show the before and after. Shortcuts did gain a return to home screen action that will be used in automations. So they've got that available. So I don't know anything you've looked at yet, Brittany, in Shortcuts.
No.
And they did a new look with this notifications icon in the settings. And so it's a lot of cosmetic changes. The share focus status in the messages app you can now tap a contact's name and choose whether or not to share your focus status with them. So if you want to go to a contact and not share your focus status with somebody, you can go into their particular contact and turn that off if you don't want to show that. So yeah, there's a lot more. A couple other things was the App Store account design. So they rounded edges, so again, it's all cosmetic stuff. I don't know. Yeah, but those sharp people looking out there always find these things. Photos memory sharing has now a functional interface for sharing memories and photos. So with an option to choose a song that's appropriate for sharing. If it's an Apple Music song, it's not available to be sharing for copyright reasons. So you have that. And there's probably more stuff that's out there that it sounds like you got, I've been using iOS 15 on my 10R that I use as a camera, and it's been pretty decent for the most part. One thing I did also find is this was an article in Mac Observer. Our Andrew Orr wrote this actually today as we record this. You may not need a third-party relaxation app anymore with iOS 15. iPad OS 15, they've added soothing sounds built into the OS. So they got some backgrounds.
Everybody could just relax now, I guess.
Everyone can relax now. And they've put that in the settings under accessibility, and you can look for audio visual in the hearing section. And the sounds include balance noise, bright noise, dark noise, ocean, rain, and stream. So
I have a question for Brittany. I'm sorry, go ahead. When you're done with iOS 15. So with the shortcuts, I've noticed that iOS 15 includes noise detection, and you can use that in shortcuts, right?
Yeah.
So I tried it and I couldn't get it to work, but in theory, I want to make a noise. I want to run a shortcut based on noise detection. In theory, that should work going forward.
The automation, yeah.
So it's an automation.
In theory, I've never tried one actually.
I tried it; it didn't work. So essentially, I want because you could record the noise now, right? I think that's what you could do. It used to. It was is that true? You could actually record the noise that you want to detect. And I thought.
I thought it just did the generic ones.
Like a baby crying
that were built into the system. Yeah, the baby crying, dog barking, doorbell ones. Of course, our doorbell plays music, so I don't know how effective that is.
I'll look at it. I thought you could customize. You could make a custom one because what I was trying to do is make if I open up my garage, I'm sorry, if I I've been trying to get my Tesla to work the garage for like how long, Dave? Since I got it, like about a year. So I was kind of trying to do something with that, but I'll look at it, I'll see. But I could have swore I saw something where you could actually customize the sounds too in the noise
And I never turned it on because I had to turn something else off. What was
Yeah,
it?
if you turn
Was
it on, it had to
Hey,
download something. Yeah.
sound recognition?
Turn on sound recognition. Listen for Hey Siri will resume after sound recognition has been turned off. So yeah, you have to turn off Hey Siri to do that.
Now that you've triggered everybody's.
I know. I was just proud of myself. I stopped.
Yeah, sorry.
Hey, ass lady, or ass guy.
Yeah, and I wanted to keep the yellow device thing on.
Yeah.
For no reason, when it screws it up, it's hilarious.
All right. Well, if this ever,
I talked to it.
Since you're the shortcut person, I'll talk to you offline to see how I could get my Tesla to close the garage for me.
I still don't know how you can. I think that's a problem with the Tesla interface.
Yeah,
but
Tesla just goes like this when it comes to Apple. The big cross.
Tesla did not include a garage door opener in your car without paying $300 for it, and I refuse to do it. But that's a whole other story.
It's a whole other thing.
The other thing I was going to ask you guys is, have you been able to use the live text feature yet? Because I know that just got opened up within the last beta. Is it working good?
Okay. Yeah, when I first got the beta, I used it, and then I kind of how cool it was, and then I kind of stopped.
But I have a use for it all the time. So
yeah,
but it's there. Like it's where you hit copy, paste, all that stuff. Like it offers it everywhere.
I have used it definitely at work because of serial numbers, stuff like that.
Right.
But it's pretty crazy. I mean, it gets things that you wouldn't think, but it's not perfect. You still have to. Right now you still have to double check some of the things that it does. But,
right.
And
I was impressed how much all of a sudden, like a bunch of photos that I'd had in notes or in the Photos app, like I would search for a thing and it would find the text from it. Like it was just almost right away turned on from, and I have a large photo library. So,
and I know this is not the Mac show, but
no, it's fine.
The big news is the last beta actually enabled this feature for Intel Macs.
Yes, I heard that.
And people. So people are happy about that. I mean, I've used it on my M1 Mac when it came out on the beta, and it's a great feature. And I think it's going to be the kind of thing where, like Brittany says, it's just there. You don't have to really think about it. And, there'll be a point where you're looking at a picture, you take a picture. It's like, man, I wish I could grab. Oh, you're right, I can. Because before you had to use a separate app to do it, and they were buggy, and you didn't even know to do it. So, yeah, it's definitely a good feature.
Yeah. One thing it was discovered, it looks like Apple's going to reduce the third-party app's ability to use Siri, including being able to ask ride-sharing service like Uber to get you a ride. I linked an article here to Mac Rumors, and this just was released yesterday as we record this. So it's going to be starting with all the versions: iOS 15, iPadOS 15, Mac OS Monterey, and WatchOS 8. Apple is going to cut back on the integration between Siri and third-party apps, drastically reducing the type and number of commands users will be able to invoke through the virtual assistant for third-party apps. This was on a developer's support page, and they talked about this, and they say a number of Siri kit intents and commands will no longer be supported with the public release of all the upcoming releases. It says a total of 22. Go ahead.
I mean, that's like crazy. That's like the opposite of what they should be doing, right? I mean, Amazon is like, I think they're trying to get more and more integration. I think they just did something with the A lady where they could get pretty much they wrote an API where you get integration with almost everything. So I think that's a really stupid move by Apple to do that.
Yeah.
All they're doing is making Siri the inferior product when it comes to using it.
I agree.
I don't understand this at all. It also just seems like a bad move from a people are scrutinizing you about lock-in and really? I don't understand this at all. I feel like there's missing information.
Yeah, something's.
Apple's very quiet about it. I mean, not only is it ride booking apps, it's also going to cut back on Siri's ability to integrate with to-do apps, which that's even more ludicrous.
Yeah.
So, like to-do apps like Things or To-Do List, and will no longer be able to create a new task list. So it just and some depreciation, also cutting back on several CarPlay intents, removing the ability for users to use Siri to set an audio source in a car, just climate, seat, or defroster settings. I mean, that's the whole thing of what an assistant's supposed to do. I mean, this is
just
bizarre.
Like Brittany said, I think something's missing.
Something's off.
Yeah. And the Mac Rumors article that you linked, you could tell by the 171 comments that people are talking and not happy about it. So yeah, I gotta think this is either miscommunication or some kind of mistake.
It's going to be pushed back. I mean, they quote saying that Apple's been rather quiet about it, but I believe they're going to get a lot of pushback on this, and I would think that they would give in on this. I thought
it's not even pushback. It would be more like you're
push back and make them restore it.
Yeah. I mean, you're digging your own grave with trying to get Siri to be a viable assistant, and you're going to be selling less iPad minis or iPod minis. So because of this, not iPod mini, the
real talk, those were really like kludgy and unintuitive to set up, like those manual ones that direct, because that's the older way to do it. That's before the shortcuts way, right? But at the same time, like that was that you haven't really fully replaced it or given something better yet. And so why wouldn't you just keep it on for nothing else, appearances, and to theoretically do it until you have something better? Like,
yeah.
I mean, realistically, it didn't work that great. Like it didn't work as well as we would have liked it to work, but you got to have something better. And I don't know that they do.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it. So, like I said, I think there's going to be a 360 change on this. It's got to be something that we're just not finding, and Apple's being just quiet about it. So, other topic I wanted to talk about a little bit here was this was interesting. Apple is demanding that a Chinese leaker reveal their sources of as far as about unreleased products, or they'll be reported to the police. I'm like, okay, Apple's going to say, we're going to report you to the police about this. I mean, last I checked, yeah, especially if it's Chinese. It's a Chinese leaker. Does Apple have any rights to do this? I just don't see it. I wanted to kind of debate this a little bit here. This was also an article here in Mac Rumors. They had sent a cease and desist letter to a leaker that's based in China, and it's continued attempts to curtail leaks on unreleased products, which, good luck. The Chinese citizen who shared images of stolen Apple prototypes on social media was sent a warning letter. This was back in June as we record this, and extracted a letter saying you've disclosed without authorization a large amount of information related to Apple's unreleased rumored products, which constitute a deliberate infringement on Apple's trade secrets. And thorough investigation, Apple has obtained relevant evidence about your unauthorized disclosure of Apple's unreleased rumored products and blah, 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 and your intentional infringement. And then they're basically asking them to stop obtaining, advertising, or selling leaked information, which, I mean, I guess Apple has a right to ask that. And it goes through, I don't even want to mention any of these leakers because I try not to follow some of these really shady ones that are out there, but they did have some pretty legit stuff about when the iPhone 12 Pro's rear glass, so they were on it, and the 12 mini display unit, the A14 chip. So they had a lot of stuff that was accurate, but even John Prosser, who is a pretty much more substantial leaker, who's probably not anywhere as bad as these Chinese leakers, even had accurate renderings of the AirPods Max before they were released. So I want to hear what you guys think about this. I mean, I think the leakers have a place. I mean, if I remember correctly, the website, I forgot the name of the website that Apple years and years ago had just got shut down because they were doing this. But it was a different era back in those days. So it's a little different now with the advent of social media.
It wasn't Gawker, right?
No, I forget. It was Apple. I can't remember what they were. I mean, I'm sure it'll come to me, but it was one of those old sites. It's gone, no longer around. So, well, Gawker was one of those. That was the old days when the iPhone was the iPhone 5 was in the bar.
That's right. They wrote the story about it, and Apple didn't like it. So yeah.
Well, yeah, they did full pictures of it and everything.
Yeah.
So, what do you think, Brittany? Do you follow a lot of these leakers?
I don't. I mean, I follow the podcast to talk about them later on occasion, but that's it. Like, so no, I don't. I end up getting it pretty filtered, which, for some types of news is not a good thing. And in this case, I think it serves me pretty well.
Yeah, be surprised. I'd rather be surprised in a lot of cases, but it's almost with when we attend the events, it's almost like, oh yeah, well, I already knew about that.
I still hear them because I still hear the podcast that talk about them.
It's hard not to hear about them, right? But
I'm kind of interested in knowing what's coming to make buying choices. I don't need to know every detail, but I like being mentally prepared that, I'm going to get an iPhone mini this year and maybe not next year and just hope I get one the year after that, like,
yeah,
but I don't need to know the details about it. Right. Like, I don't need to know what the camera that's on it or other features. Like, those are nice to be a little surprised with. And,
sure.
I think you get to a point where sometimes a leak could also be a compromise of other kinds of security. And I don't know how often that happens, but it's I'm sure a thing that causes people a lot of stress inside Apple.
Yeah, and this article had a lot of comments. It was over 111 comments. I actually like this one first here. If only the leakers used Mac rumors, because Mac rumors has become a trusted source of rumors.
Well,
Warren, I mean, I know, Warren, you're like all of us. You're a big follower of Mac rumors and some of the other sites. Do you look at this stuff?
9 to 5. Yeah. Well, I mean, first of all, Mac rumors in their name, that's what they are. They're a Mac rumor site. So there's obviously an interest in it. There's obviously people interested in the rumors and the leaks because that's why these sites exist. I try to figure out what's, I don't know if there's any monetary reward for these leakers. I mean, are they, from what I understand, the chain goes like this. There's somebody at Apple who is sharing their company secrets with somebody and getting something in return for that. I don't know what the actual leaker gets at that point. He must, I guess he sells the information to other people, maybe. There's got to be something involved with that. But as far as Apple going after the leakers are the drug buyers and the drug dealers are the people at Apple, or the people at Apple who are giving the secrets out. So who do you go for? You obviously Apple's going to. I think they said something not that long ago that they were going to hunker down on finding the leakers in the company, and there was all these rumors about the old spy thing where you tell one department have one thing, you tell the other one another thing, and if the leak comes out, you could kind of find out who told the leak because one has right information, the other has wrong information. But in any case, for me personally, I think they're fun. It does take some of the fun out of the what it does really is it kind of depresses you when some of the leaks that you were hoping that was going to happen don't happen, because at the keynote at the end of the keynote we're all
wait, that was supposed to happen.
every keynote or every event we're like, okay, and here comes that that goggles or whatever that we were sure that was coming out, and everybody was saying when it's going to come out, you're excited for it. God knows it's been happening with the for me it's always been the iPad mini for 5 years. But for 5 years the iPad mini, or 4 years, it's going to have it all, the full screen and the whole thing, right? And for every year it's the same piece of thing as it's been. So it's it gets disappointing if you follow it too much.
But the full-size iPad isn't good enough for you, Warren? Maybe they should make a mini. I'm kidding. I'm teasing.
I have.
I think
Oh, I can
I actually
understand.
really do believe in having a wide product line to fill all the different niches, even though I've never owned a Mac Mini. Or I mean, an iPad Mini.
Mhm.
Yeah,
It's,
I like the iPad Mini is a nice device. I think I'm surprised Apple's gone this long without updating it. And it sounds
Yeah.
like with the rumors of that particular device is going to probably happen sooner than
would
later.
and that would be a hot device. I mean, that will sell.
I think it will.
A nice screen on a small
And be so
iPad
portable.
and be portable. Yeah, absolutely.
So, well, we'll continue to look at the leakers. That's what we do here, and that's what we like to look at, and we get a lot of our
Technology
resources.
leakers, not leakers. Just
right, the technology leaking of
we don't want to
of future products.
Leaking. Yes.
So, but you know what? Mac Rumors is a great site. All of us have followed that site for years and years and years, and it's very, very popular. So that's not going to change. Those guys make a pretty good dollar on what they do. So, and we appreciate them. So at least them. The Chinese, I don't know. I'll probably say otherwise. Next topic I wanted to bring up is about podcast apps and media. Last week we talked about podcasts. Pocket Casts got bought out by Automatic last week, and wondered what they're going to do with that product, and they're going to integrate it to maybe WordPress and other things, or they're trying to get more into the podcasting world. And they offer other stuff as well on that as far as Pocket Casts go. But it was an interesting announcement today. This was announced by TuneIn. TuneIn is a media app as well as has podcasts, but it also has like radio stations and a lot of public media that's out there. And iHeartRadio, which is a very big broadcasting company that owns 850 plus radio stations across the country. And what they did is they announced a partnership that now that iHeartRadio is going to allow all of their 850 stations on TuneIn. So you've got both platforms. You don't have to be an iHeart subscriber or an iHeart user to just listen to that stuff, because that's what always frustrated me. And I'm kind of a radio listener. I like listening to the different radio stations around the country, as well as I listen to a local station. I always use it on my phone. The last time I remember turning on an actual AM or FM radio to listen to a station that I like to listen to. So, but interesting to see how they just did a strategic partnership where TuneIn now is going to have all that content. So now I don't have to go to iHeart to be able to listen to something just on there. And now I'm going to be able to listen to it in both places. Now, granted, both services have a paid version, premium version, which of course you would pay because you don't want to listen to ads, and because they do have some annoying ads that pop up all the time. But really, my thought was, first off, I guess I should ask both of you, and Warren, have you used either one of these apps? Have you ever used TuneIn or iHeart?
My Tesla has a TuneIn app, national dedicated TuneIn thing. So I have used it in there, and so this is good news for me. This means hopefully I'll get more content in my car.
And Brittany, are you much of a listener of this type of media through like radio?
I mostly just do podcasts. That's it.
Okay. I just found it to be an interesting thing. So really the only differences between the two is, TuneIn is more of a media aggregator, and they were losing rights to being able to play other stations. Other examples I bring up in here too is Odyssey, which is the name of the new company that just changed recently with CBS Radio, with all the CBS stations around the country, and that's the only place you can listen to those stations. And that's one station local to Chicago I listen to for news. So I only could listen on that app. So you're kind of locked into only that particular app that you can use. That used to be called radio.com, and now it's called Odyssey. So TuneIn and iHeart won't be able. You can't go to those platforms. So that just makes us just like what streaming services are right now. We've always talked about with video. In the audio world, it's the same thing as far as that goes. And also all three of these apps that I mentioned also incorporate podcasts. So you can use this. You can use any three of these apps, which is iHeart, TuneIn, or Odyssey, and this particular podcast appears on all three of those services. So you have lots of podcasts to choose from on there as well if you wanted to use that as a place. So instead of having to use a podcast aggregator or podcatcher, you could be on one of these apps and being able to utilize it. So, so I thought this was an interesting announcement, and just more so the fact that media is continuing to change. Radio was, and I remember growing up, radio stations, that was the thing to do, and to be able to listen to things on the radio, and you couldn't record them or go back and listen to them later. You always had to, back in my old days of hooking it up to my stereo and recording them on my cassette tapes to be able to go back and replay any particular show I wanted to listen to on the radio. Now everything, of course, is streamed live, so it's great. So I think this is probably a good announcement. So, and the other thing I think is, the premium services. I don't see any need to be able to have to pay for, but just to not listen to ads. I think I can live without it. TuneIn, I wasn't ever paying for it. I was kind of a user of TuneIn all the time because I wanted. There was podcast stuff I want to listen to, but again, I want to do it on one place, and it just kind of. It's going to make it a little easier now. So, right.
And you mentioned listening to iHeartRadio across the country, and you enjoyed doing that one. But when I lived out in London, iHeartRadio was huge. In fact, they have a lot of stations there. So when I moved back to the United States, it was a great way for me to. It was around then too. It was a great way for me to listen to the radio I used to listen to in London while being here. So
absolutely.
Just one word of advice: don't ever sign up for like a newsletter for iHeartRadio, because they email you to
game
death.
over.
Oh my
they
God.
they spam you like crazy.
It's crazy.
Yep, I agree with you. TuneIn isn't too bad. I do get some ads, some stuff from them, but they're trying to sell. Do we want to listen to the NFL and the MLB? And I already have a Sirius XM subscription, so I don't need that. So I get that from there. So, and then. I mentioned also that I've done stuff before on podcatchers, and there's so many of them out there right now. But the Google Podcast app, I hadn't realized this, and I'm going to have a picture in the show notes of what this has. If you use Google Podcast app, and sometimes us being Apple folks here, we don't tend to want to use a Google product, but I found this interesting that it does provide suggestions at the bottom of the notes of a particular episode of a podcast. It goes out to Google and actually shows you what we talked about. In the case of this show, that's what this, of course, our notes are kind of covering this, but it shows you that what was mentioned. So like the case of this show, in which I showed, is it says iPhone, iPad, Apple TV, and it gives you a Google link to be able to Google something particular for that particular discussion that you had, that they just went right out there and knew that, which I thought that was kind of cool. So
it's one of those Google is being cool and slightly creepy at the same time things.
Yeah, kind of.
Because this is really about their speech to text being fast enough to include it, right? And like try to find the links in an automated way.
It scanned our audio of the show, and it says, "Hey, search topics on Google." And I just fixed the picture. You guys can see it now, but it says iPhone, iPad, and iPad. So it picked a lot of particular topics that might interest somebody when they're in the notes. Let me click that, and it might be something specific that they might want to find out about. I wish it would be kind of stuff that we actually talked about, but I mean, I guess it's a good start. It's a good start. So. Any other thoughts about the podcast apps before we move on here? Okay. I have one app I wanted to bring up before we wrap up this week, and I thought it was kind of fun. If you're a subscriber through the Apple One bundle, or if you subscribe to Apple Arcade, Angry Birds is back. Angry Birds Reload is in the Apple Arcade. And I started playing it, and it's kind of fun. It's the graphics are really, really impressive. It works on all platforms: Mac, iPhone, iPad, and Apple TV. And the characters are back, and new characters, and you got defeat the eagles and the pigs. And if anybody's played Angry Birds and how much time wasting it does, I thought it was a kind of a cool app and cool game to check out. And Arcade, I'm starting to find more and more some fun games that are in Arcade. I didn't think I'd find much value in it, but it's part of the bundle. Since we have the Warren and I both have the the Premier bundle. So we got it all. So
Well, I
check out.
just finally broke my Angry Bird addiction a couple of years ago. I'm not going back.
Okay, so I shouldn't.
Don't fall off the wagon.
I said don't fall off the wagon. And if I didn't mention this, so but
Exactly.
check it out. I thought it was cool. So with that, we have brought this show to a almost close here. Let's go ahead and wrap things up for this week. And that is a wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, and suggestions to our email address, feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Twitter @intouchwithios. You can go to our YouTube page at youtube.com/DaveG65. You can also subscribe in your favorite podcatcher, including Apple Podcasts, as well as TuneIn Radio and iHeart. iHeart, if I could talk, and many others. But better yet, go to our website at intouchwithios.com, where all the links to all the ways to listen to us are there. And I am Dave Ginsburg, and you can find me on Twitter @DaveG65. Brittany, thanks so much for being here again. We always love having you on the show. Tell everybody
Thanks
where
for
they can
having
find
me.
you. Yeah.
On Twitter, I'm ADD Liberator. I have recently gotten my YouTube channel to also be
Yay.
ADD Liberator. And yeah, those are good places to find me. Thanks for having me.
No, I really appreciate you being here. And Warren, thank you as always for being here. And Back to the Future seems to have been pretty steady with the posts and such and all that fun stuff.
It's been a slow week.
Seems slow, yeah, actually.
It's a summer, I guess. Nothing much is. I mean, it's a summer. Let's go with that. But yeah, you can find me there if you could stomach Facebook. And Brittany, thanks for coming again. It's always good to see the Little Mermaid.
You.
I'm always happy to see
The Little Mermaid.
Have a great weekend.
Yes. All right. And I thank you for listening. We really appreciate it. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk again soon. Thanks, guys.
No problem.
A couple extra minutes too, under 2 minutes.
Yep. Fun.
Oh, I'll say goodbye.
We usually avoid saying the actual Little Mermaid thing on the actual broadcast. I don't think any of you knew what you were talking about, though. So.
Goodbye.